Indo-European languages have singular and plural, but Hebrew also has dual. What is it and how do we use it? I will tell you all about it today on Hebrew Grammar Help. Welcome back to Hebrew Grammar Help. I'm Sapir, and today I'm talking about dual number. English speakers are usually pretty familiar with the concept of singular and plural, but in Hebrew they have a third number, which is dual, which is two of something. Now, this is not a full-service number. You cannot just go around using it for everything that you have two of. It usually is reserved for things that come in pairs or for other specific situations. So this video is all about the uses and the restrictions of the dual number. So the first thing to know is that the dual ending sounds like ayim, and it basically just looks like two yods and a mem sofit. It doesn't matter if the noun is masculine or feminine. It's still going to have this dual ending. Now, this dual ending only applies to the nouns. So if you've got a noun with a dual ending and then you want to add an adjective to it, the adjective is going to have the proper plural ending, masculine or feminine, depending on whether that noun was masculine or feminine. And also, if that dual noun is the subject of the sentence, then the verb also is going to have the proper regular ending, either masculine plural or feminine plural. So, when do we use it? Well, I think the most common usage is body parts, because we have a lot of body parts that come in pairs, right? We have hands, we have shoulders, legs, eyes, ears, so many things that come in pairs. Before I get to the list of body parts, I actually want to mention that the vast majority of body parts that have this dual ending or that come in pairs are feminine. Of all the dual body parts, I think I've come across two that are actually masculine. The rest of them are all feminine. And also, if we are talking about an alien or a monster or something like that that has more than two of something that we humans have two of, we are still going to use that dual form. All right, starting with the face, we have eyes, enaim, and eyelids are afayim. Ears are oznaim, and cheeks are lechayayim. Nostrils are nechirayim. And I don't think this is used anymore, but in Psalms, they mentioned malkuchaim, which is jaws. And I think they're talking about like the upper jaw and the lower jaw. But I don't think this is a word anymore in modern Hebrew. And we have two lips. Lip is safa, and so my lips are sfatayim. But we also use this word for language. So if I want to say I speak two languages, I'm not going to say ani medaberet sfatayim. I'm going to say ani medaberet shtei safot. Gums is chanichayim. There's an X over here because we don't have one gum. Teeth is shenayim, even though hopefully we have more than two teeth. But for some reason, teeth also ended up with a dual form, shenayim. We have yadayim, which can mean hands or arms. Ktefayim are shoulders. Tzipornaim are fingernails. Again, we hopefully have more than two, but they also get a dual form. Interestingly, the word for fingers, etzbaot, they have a regular ending, but tzipornaim gets a dual. We also have gapayim, which means limbs. We have raglaim, which can be feet or legs. Yerechayim are thighs, but they can also, I think, be used for hips. Birkaim are knees. Then we also have shokaim, which is calves or shins, and karsolaim, which is ankles. There's another word for hips which is motnaim, which also in biblical times gets translated as the loins. And then we also have achoraim, which are buttocks, and achor, or achar, that whole shoresh refers to behind, right? So this is your behind. And as far as I can tell, achoraim does not have a singular form. You can't talk about one buttock. Another thing to remember about this word is that it is one of the masculine words. Even though it's a 2 on the body, it's masculine. And so on the torso, we have shadaim, which is breasts, and that is the other masculine word. We also have me'aim and kravayim, both of which mean intestines, and they can also more generally mean your innards. And just to give you another rule, I looked up all of the inner body parts that we have 2 of. Lungs, kidneys, ovaries. I looked everything up that I could think of, and all of them had a regular plural. The only exception to that rule is me'aim kravayim, the intestines. And so besides the organs, there's a couple other body parts that we can see that we have 2 of that do not have a dual form. So we have eyebrows, which is gabot, elbows and wrists, both of which are marpekim, and the palms of the hands, kapot yadayim. So the yadayim is dual, but kapot is a regular plural. The next category that has a lot of dual forms is articles of clothing. So the articles of clothing that come in pairs are mishkafayim, which are glasses, michnasayim, which are pants, garbayim are socks, na'alayim are shoes, and magafayim are boots. And there are some items that are not exactly articles of clothing, but they maybe go on the body, they go with a body part that's a dual, and so they also have dual forms. So the first is mukayim, which means gaiters. And this is something you wear over your pants and your boots when you're walking through a wet or a snowy area. And then there's also ma'alamayim, which are poultry goggles. They look like glasses. They go in front of the chicken's eyes, and they're either opaque or they're red. It's supposed to keep the chickens more calm if they can't see, right? If they're opaque, then they can't see the other chickens at all. But if they are red, there's also supposed to be something about that color that keeps them from fighting. And so this Hebrew word ma'alamayim is based on a shoresh that means hide. So, of course, you're basically hiding their eyes, or you're hiding the other chickens from them. There's also miglashayim, which are skis, which, of course, come in pairs. And mitpasayim, translated as linesmen's climbers, which seems to be some kind of safety equipment that they wear on their arms that keeps them from, if they're about to fall, it will keep them from falling. And mishvarayim are stirrups. So that's, when you're riding like a horse and you've put your feet in the stirrups. So we can see that all of these words have something to do with the body parts that have a dual. Just like body parts that come in pairs, but they have a regular plural ending, there are articles of clothing that do the same thing. So the ones that come to mind are kfafot, which are gloves or mittens, and sandalim, which are sandals. All right, moving on to units of time. The interesting thing with kind of the rest of these is that they have a singular, a plural, and a dual, right? So you can have one, you can have many, and you can have just 2. Whereas with the body parts, like I said, even when we had an alien that has 4 arms, we're still going to use that dual ending for the plural of the 4 arms. But with units of time and with the rest of the bunch, you are going to have 3 different forms: singular, plural, and dual. So the shortest unit of time that has a dual is sha'ah. So we have sha'atayim, 2 hours. We also have yomayim, 2 days. Shvu'ayim, 2 weeks, chodshayim, 2 months, and shnatayim, 2 years. All right, this one's a little different, but it's related to time. We have a word machar, which means tomorrow, and then we have machortayim, tomorrow times 2. So this is the day after tomorrow. There's no equivalent for the past. Yesterday is etmol, the day before is shilshom. They're not related at all. And the last time related word is time. This is like an occurrence, right? I ate sushi 1 time. Achalti sushi pa'am achat. So anyway, 1 time is pa'am achat. 3 times is shalosh pe'amim. 2 times is pa'amayim. And the next group that we have, a singular, a plural, and a dual, is numbers. But there's really only 2 of them. So we have mea, which means 100. Me'ot means many hundreds. Me'taim means 200. And elef is 1,000. Alafim is many thousands. Alpaim is 2,000. It's easy to remember that one because of the years that we're in these days. And now there's also punctuation marks that come in pairs, often get a dual ending. So we have geresh for a single apostrophe, and we have gershaim for a double apostrophe, which, like in English, can serve as a quotation mark, but it also has other uses, like indicating initialisms, or when you're writing out the name of a letter, they'll also often use it, things like that. Sograim are parentheses. The shoresh, it means to close, and it has a gazillion words. And lastly, nekuda means a dot or a point. Nekuda can be a period at the end of a sentence, and nekudatayim is a pair of dots, aka a colon. It's a punctuation mark that introduces a list or something like that. Okay, our last real category is tools. And these are generally tools that involve some kind of a pair working together. So we have misparaim, which are scissors. And we also have ofanaim, which is a bicycle because it's 2 wheels working together. Ofanaim is plural, which can be a little counterintuitive. You know, it'll help you if you think of it as my wheels. Moznaim is a scale, but a very specific kind of scale. It's the old style scale. It's related to the word ear, which is in itself related to the word balance, right? So it's one of those scales that uses balance to, you're balancing a weight on one side and your stuff that you're buying or selling or whatever on the other side. Here's a picture of a scale that my parents own. These are moznaim. But any other kind of scale that you step on and the needle moves, or like I'm a truck driver, I go over a truck scale on a daily basis. Those scales, that has a completely different word that's not related at all. And then there's also melkachaim, which are tongs, and mashachaim, which are nippers. And these are made with the shoresh nun shin kaf, which means to bite. So these are like a little tool that's kind of biting down. And there's also migzazaim, which are shears, like what you would use to cut the wool off of a sheep. And migzaraim, which are wire cutters. And machalatzayim, which is a windlass. Yeah, I didn't know what it was either. Apparently, it's some kind of device for lifting super, super heavy objects. Machletz is a corkscrew. And so maybe machalatzayim involves like 2 corkscrews working together. I don't know. I tried looking it up. I could not find it. Mitzvataim are pincers, pliers, or forceps using the shoresh tzadi bet tet, which means to pinch. And metziltaim are cymbals. I know cymbals you can hit it. You can hit a single symbol and make noise. But a lot of times you have symbols that you crash them both together. I know my brother used to do the drums. My brother used to play drums, and he had symbols that he stepped on a pedal, and it made the two symbols come together and make noise. So I think it's clear that it comes from the fact that two of them make the noise when they're crashed together. And there's also makbilaim, which are parallel bars. And so I'm not sure if this is the parallel bars that are in gymnastics or if it has some other use. I couldn't find any more information. Okay, we have a couple of more random words, and one of them is machanaim, which is a dual form of machane, which means camp. And I don't know how it was used in the past, but there is a kibbutz with the name Kibbutz Machanaim. And Machanaim is also the name for the game dodgeball, which is, of course, you've kind of got two camps against each other, but I mean, isn't that every team game? There's also Beit Mitbachaim, which is a post-biblical word meaning a slaughtering place. Mitbach in modern Hebrew means kitchen. Matbach was used once in the Tanakh to mean slaughtering place. I'm not sure why this one has a dual form. It doesn't seem to make any sense. And then there's the word, I love this one, the word komotaim. So koma is a story on a story or a floor on a building. So if you say, how many floors does your building have? You can say koma achat or shalosh komot. And if it has two, it has shte komot. You don't say it has komotaim. But it has some very specific uses. And one of them is a bunk bed, which is mitat komotaim. So it's like a 2-story bed. And then it also is used for a double-decker bus, autobus komotaim. So it's kind of used for things that are normally a single layer of whatever, but this special one has 2 layers. And lastly, we have a handful of words that look like a dual, and they are indeed plural, but they are not, there's no real duality to them. And they don't have a singular form. Sometimes in language, coincidence just happens. But all of these words are actually are plural, and a lot of them that can feel really weird to an English speaker because they're singular in English, and they kind of feel like there's no pluralness to them either. So we have maim, which is water. Sky, shamayim, is also plural. Sohoraim means noon, or more accurately, it means like the middle of the day. We also have chayim, which is life. And lastly, we have Mitzrayim, which means Egypt, and Yerushalayim, which is Jerusalem. And these last two, Mitzrayim and Yerushalayim, the rest of them are all plural, but Mitzrayim and Yerushalayim are singular. They're treated as singular words. They're also feminine, like all cities and countries. So that's it for dual. I hope this video has given you a better understanding of how it's used and what kinds of words can have a dual plural or must have a dual plural. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, please leave it in the comments. And if you have any aspect of Hebrew grammar that has you flummoxed, leave it in the comments and I will do my best to get to the bottom of it. Hit like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. Lahitwaot bapa'am aba'ah. See you next time.